Good morning. Good morning. I hate to start it off this early with political thing, but it's going to be more of a civil political commentary. In the sense that I don't have any of the material in front of me, but we'll see what we can do off the top of my head. The question of constitutional crisis of the United States keeps coming up. Are we in a constitutional crisis? And though that sounds kind of rough, but what it is it's at a point where the parties that be, we the people, where the Congress, the elected officials, and the president and the judicial branch are all kind of at odds. Okay, and that constitutional crisis and the three powers that be, judicial being the one that is supposed to be calling out the shots, it has been slow. Okay? And it's been slow. You got the legislature who are not saying anything because they are technically in power because of a majority. Okay? But when they don't say anything to curb the executive, who is the president, down, and no one is within an earshot of the executive to tell him what works and what doesn't work, or if what I've been saying, throwing noodles against a wall, he is throwing stuff out right and left. It's okay for a president to call out different things and going, this is the way I think that we should be going and all that. But normally, they take it under advisement. Any of the direction beyond that. Well, I would like this to happen. Okay, well, Mr. President, that's great, but you know what? You're going to have to curb this one part of it because that's illegal, or that's, and democratic, or that's whatever it is. It may not be smart for you to do that. Okay? What is obvious, and it should be obvious to everyone, what is going on. And nothing against who is in president right now. Nothing against who is there. This could happen to any platform, anybody that holds that office, any party that holds that office. Okay? But what is happening is there is some kind of a disconnect, or there is some kind of, it's one or the other. There's either a disconnect or there's some kind of drive that is not being transparent. And either one is kind of scary, because you've got the highest seat in the land, and they're supposed to have a little bit more common sense. Okay? But, and it's a big but, there's one more situation that I think in olden times you really didn't have. And it's not necessarily on the media, but you have a dynamic, we'll call it, where you have a president who does not bridle his tongue, is what I was raised with calling it. Like a little kid in a store with his mom looks over and someone who is obese standing there, and the kid turns around and goes, "God, you're fat," or something like that. Or, "Mom, look at that fat person," bridling the tongue. Okay? Things that really aren't smart to say. It may be an observation, okay? But they're really not that smart to say. Why? Because normally they come with an uneducated curve to it. And that uneducated curve is, there may be a reason for this. Okay? We are neighbors with Canada. Okay? We're not talking about taking over Haiti. We're not talking about wanting a Caribbean island here. The president turns around and says, and I quote, "Canada should be a 51st state." Okay? Jokingly or not, that's a pretty bold statement to anybody who's Canadian. Jokingly or not, that's a pretty bold statement to anybody within Wall Street or something like that when you're sitting in power. And to push it even further than that, where it becomes not a jokingly situation, that becomes this bridled the tongue thing. Okay? Do you realize, I get what you're saying, but you're doing this for a power trip more than anything. Okay? You're doing this for your own gain. Not even for an America gain. America's doing great. You choose not to see it. Okay? We have our issues and all that, but you're choosing not to see it and work with that. You're coming in and wanting a whole nother story. A whole nother storyline, a whole nother dynamic. And you're throwing your power around, and you're not bridling your tongue while you're doing it. Okay? The constitutional crisis, getting back to that, is because some of the things that you're saying and doing are going against the grain of our democracy, are going against the grain of our Constitution. Okay? When you start saying that you have ultimate authority and power, you automatically have not only misjudged, but you've missed the bridling of the tongue, you've missed the caricature, you've missed the role of a president. Okay? Just because the rest of the body doesn't agree with you doesn't give you the right to overrule them. Okay? In this situation. Constitution is key. Rule of law is key. That's what keeps the balance. We have somebody in power or somebody sitting in the presidency who doesn't think that they can do any wrong. We have someone who is sitting in the Oval Office who refuses correction. Okay? We put them there. And like the first time around, it was already proven that it was like a bull in a china shop, and the people around him would say, Mr. President, this isn't a smart decision, or Mr. President, you can't be doing this. And sure enough, he wouldn't listen. Well, we voted him in again. Okay? Only thing is that as you get older, your decisions become more rash sometimes. If you don't have that bridle the tongue attitude in your head. Okay? Things start coming out of the fog. More like red lights rather than out of clear night sky. Let's say it that way. All of a sudden, boom, it's there, and it's like a red light, a red flag going, what? Wow, there's something. What are you saying? What are you doing? You have to be a little bit more on your toes to relate what's going on, or to understand what's going on. And I'm saying that as I go through the fog and stuff right here. Some of the comments that are coming out of him come so far off, but he means them. And if all of a sudden he's wanting to say pink is the new blue, and he wants it that way, he's not going to listen to anybody else. Okay? The only thing left is our construct of our Constitution and our powers. The only thing left is to be reined in by a judicial branch. Constitutional crisis? You bet. Yeah, when he starts saying the judicial branch doesn't know shit, and therefore they're corrupt, and you have a body in the legislature that is going to back that, we've got a problem. We in America have a problem. Okay. So yeah, there we go. Constitutional crisis. Can we get through it? Now that we've kind of stated something like that. If you believe this to be true. Yeah, we can get through it. Our government is actually built to withstand this. It's built and structured to have that higher authority in mind. Okay? Like what I've said before, anybody that has a godly sense and has a problem with our structure really has missed the point. Just because we don't fly the banner of Jesus right above everything that we say and do does not mean that we aren't blessed. Okay? So, that's what I wanted to say. If anybody has a problem saying, or has a question saying, are we in constitutional crisis? Yes, we are. We are, because we really haven't gone down this path in many, many, many years. We haven't had someone who's challenged the authority of the authority itself. And now we have somebody in that seat who not only challenges the authority, but wants to be the ultimate authority. And that is a constitutional crisis. Okay? We're in a constitutional crisis. Any way you look at it. By its very definition. There we go. Long one. Good morning. It's a civil question. It's a civil discussion that we can have. It's civil until it gets to the level of the presidency. And why do I say that? Because it is there that emperor is saying he has the finest clothes on. Okay? And everyone's looking at him and they can see right through it. It is, that's the old fable that applies here. So, have a great day. Got nothing but love.